Brought to you by GN and Co. On today's episode, I am joined by Zama Mkhize. She is a poet, a podcaster, and a digital content creator. Her work is centered around mental wellness, emotional growth, and personal development. Sure, Genge, welcome back to yet another episode of After School is After School with your girl, Sis G.U. To those that are at home, I hope you guys are well. And to those that are passing by, all right, I hope you like what you see. And you join the Genge, please. I hope you like what you see. And you join the Genge, please. I hope you watch out. And you join the Genge, please. Period. Zama came ready. She said one thing about me. I have the ad-libs. Okay, I've got the vibes. You got the right one. No, you've got the right one today. Guys, today I am with Zama Mkhize. She is a podcaster, content creator, overall sweetheart.
Oh, man.
And a new friend.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually really, really good.
That's
How are you
good.
doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited though. Thanks for having me. Like genuinely, I'm so gassed. Like I'm just like, yeah.
Anytime.
Let's rumble.
Yeah, let's rumble. Guys, today we are going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk about for some time. And the last time I saw Zama, we kind of kikied about this, and I was like, you know what? It would be cool to do an episode on this. Keep in mind, we're talking from our experiences, okay? We understand that people have different experiences, but I think just even between the two of us, we'll be able to find common ground,
For sure.
which potentially also speaks to how our people grew up at large. So today we're just going to be speaking about family dynamics, but in particular in the Black community, because I think we both have found that our households seem to be a bit different.
Yeah, from the people we know.
From the people we know.
And the schools we went to.
Yes, and the schools we went to. So Zama, to start off this conversation, I'm just going to ask you, when you think about growing up in a Black household, what do you think about? Be it a specific topic or even just things you grew up hearing in the house.
Man, I don't know. My mom was like very like religious. You know, we grew up in a very, and you know.
Retweet.
Yeah. And I feel like everything either had to do with Jesus or the devil. You know, either we blame the devil. That is something that is like, you know, spiritual or whatever it is. I feel like even just like speaking about like certain issues you might be having, whatever, it's like, oh, that's the devil, you know?
Yeah.
Even something as like small as just saying like, I'm falling asleep like during prayer. Like, oh, that's the devil trying to make you like sleep, like wake up.
Wake up.
Like, yeah, I feel like we were very heavily centered around like our spirituality, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing, honestly. Like we were very much in Sunday school. My mom served in the church even and all of that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, but like I just think like when I realized like my whole life, it was very much like it's either God or
the devil.
Yeah, with anything that we do. And like that was just like the answer to like anything and everything.
Yeah.
That was like our principle, the way that we did things, the way that we like built relationships with other people, like everything was informed by our faith, you know? Yeah, literally I feel like that was like the household I came from. It's like, yeah, everything we did, the way that we spoke, the way that we dressed, whatever it is, it all goes back to, is this like the Christ way of doing things and whatever it is. And I don't know, for me, like now just speaking about it out loud, like I feel like it was so interesting coming into, like the older I got, like going to high school and stuff, like coming into contact with people who weren't Christian. And like I just
Because what in the world?
I thought we all were.
How y'all be living?
You know, there are people like, no, I'm atheist. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever. And it just felt like, you know, when you're younger, it just feels like there's sinners then, you know, like that impulse to just judge others or whatever it is. And stuff. Like, yeah, when I just think about like my household or the Black, you know, household and stuff, I feel like very often a lot of how we do things is governed by, you know, our understanding of the Bible and stuff like that. And I know that in my life, that was like very much like influenced by that. Like, even my thoughts and stuff, like it was just, yo, girl.
Yeah.
Was it the same for you? Like we also just...
So both my parents are Christian, went to church. Like I used to look forward to church all the time though. So I've always been a church girly. But yeah, very much like things are done in a certain way, and as a household we do this and we don't do other things. And I just want to touch on something you said there, like it being either Jesus or Satan is obviously very interesting, because I mean, obviously I think the older we get and the more we grow in our relationship with God, I think, you know, there's some times where you can be like, this is actually the devil, like for sure.
For sure.
But Zama, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that kind of notion at that time really did a big one on me as a child, because I felt like even I it sometimes felt like I couldn't make mistakes. It felt like I couldn't be a kid.
All right. Yes.
It felt like I couldn't experience what my peers were experiencing. Like the one thing they'd always say to me always would be that, like, you're our child and that's not our child. So don't compare yourself to how other children are doing things, because that's not how things go down, right? And that used to irritate me because, one, I'm not on crack, I'm not pregnant. I'm in school.
Yeah, you should be thankful it's me.
That was our thing all the time. That, like, I promise you, like, you keep comparing us to other kids and you don't know what you're comparing us to. Because if you actually knew what other parents were going through.
Bro, and then if you say, but Sarah's mom, am I Sarah's mom?
Like,
you know, strictness is such a, you know, I wasn't allowed to go to sleepovers.
Same. Oh wait, why weren't you allowed to go to sleepovers?
I honestly still don't really have an idea, but I think the truth really was, like, she just felt more comfortable having, you know, she would allow, like, other people to sleep over at our
Zama, we're twins.
Just feel so comfortable, like, okay, you're in my safety, whatever it is, but like, she doesn't know what's going on in that house, you know? So why would I now go
why would you go sleep there where she doesn't know what's happening? She doesn't know what these parents are allowing. Like, that's weird. I wasn't allowed sleepovers, but like there would be exceptions, right? So it kind of got to a point where we kind of clocked there'd be like 2 sleepovers a year, which was like at least like a little bit of something. And obviously we could bribe them with marks. So like if you've done well, like, hello.
But then that's a deep one, because it's like, the need for achievement so that you could get something, you know, in return.
Absolutely.
I felt a great pressure to have to achieve.
Absolutely.
You're just like, it's like, what can I trade in just to have the experience other kids are having?
So with the sleepover thing, I didn't get it for some time. And then eventually, as I got older, like, my dad started to ration with me, which is another thing. Like, this whole idea that I feel like our Black parents have, and that I'm an adult, you're a child, I don't have to explain things to you. It's because I said it and you kind of need to run with that. We're coming there. But with the sleepovers, it's funny because when he actually decided to open his mouth and explain a little bit, I understood. Like, as I can't imagine what it's like to raise a girl child in South Africa. And obviously when we're young, we're very oblivious to what our society looks like, what the crime rate is. I hate to say it, what the rape rate is in this country as well. So my dad's thinking was that he didn't feel comfortable with me being in a household where other men had access to it, and he didn't know those dynamics. So when he rationed with me, I was like, okay, I understand what your fear was. I understand where that was coming from. And obviously then I'm like, dude, we can mitigate that a little bit. You know, like, I'm not asking to just sleep at anyone's house.
Yeah.
What if you meet the family? What if you meet the father? What if you meet the brother? He's like, I can meet these people. But still, at the end of the day, I don't know what one.
You know when you ask the friends to speak for you? You ask the friends can you go speak on my behalf?
Can you please go? Maybe when it's you, they'll be kinder. They'll be far more understanding. So that was a big thing for me as well. I'm someone who likes to understand things. Yeah. I don't take no well, but you're not going to tell me why it is a no. No, I've always been a freedom fighter in that house.
You need an explanation. Read it
like.
Yeah.
Meet me halfway. So this whole thing of
But didn't they feel like you were then questioning authority and like, what are the cheek you're being, you got an attitude, yes.
Yes. That was my whole thing. Absolutely.
Really?
Like they were like, lengane in an attitude, yet delela sometimes. And I was just like, guys, you're not understanding that I'm not being disrespectful by just wanting to reason with you.
Sure.
Also, especially as I'm getting older, see that I'm a young adult. See that I'm capable of having these conversations, you know?
Yes,
and even in me trying to understand why, I'm not defying your no. Your no is still a no, but why is it a no? So that I also understand moving forward why it is that I should not maybe be asking for these things. So that I struggled with that. Like,
and that's the thing. I feel like they take that like line of questioning as you not respecting them. Like, it's like you're questioning their leadership or whatever it is. And it's like, it's not that personal. Like, it's not an attack on you, but it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, what's the issue? And it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's so, I didn't question. I told you, very Christian house.
Oh, no,
like,
yeah, no. I feel like they laid the law down for you, and that was just that.
It was, yeah, you know, like, even if I would try it, it's like, Zama, you're not about to start that, whatever. So I was just like, yeah, I never wanted to go toe-to-toe with my mom because she'd always win, you know? So it's...
At the end of the day.
You know, I don't think there's ever an argument we got into that I won. And like, it's just, even if I was saying things that were valid, but that's the thing, right? I think like, it's so difficult to say this, but like, I feel like a lot of the times, and maybe this is the pattern in black households, is that the truth is, it's somehow they're always right, even if they're not. They make it seem as if they are, and they feel that power over it. And so it feels like you're wasting your breath. And that was what would happen to me when I engage in argument. Like, I feel like I don't even want to speak anymore because now you're not listening. Now you're actually not even trying to hear. So it's just like, you know what, fine, you win. Like, you're right. I'll go. Like, yeah, you just feel like you give up. Like, and I think that's it's such a defeating thing to feel. And only later, like when I became like more older, did I start to like have these conversations and be like, can we actually speak and stuff like that, you know? But like, I know when I was a teenager and stuff, like, I hated having an opinion because I just knew I'm not gonna, like, I just didn't want to speak. Like, you know, it's fine. Like, just leave it. And I think that also builds up a little bit of like resentments. Like, I know my mom and I during my teenagers, like, we would
a lot of resentment. A lot of it.
We were butting heads. I did not understand her. She did not understand me. And now, like, she's the person I understand the most of that. Like, I'm just like, oh no, mom, get behind me if anybody has anything to say. Because it's like, But that's the thing. It's like, I feel like when you're growing up in this space where you don't question authority, you don't like, you know, back chats, you don't just try that, try me, you know what I'm saying? It just feels so difficult to have like a voice or like an identity. And that was something I struggled with.
Same. No. Everything you said, absolutely retweet. I think I even realized like through therapy that at some point, like when I was in therapy university, my therapist would ask me like, why are you so scared of confrontation? And I obviously didn't know how to answer that, you know? And I think I'd always say to her like, no, I just want to keep the peace. And that's when she'd say to me like, but whose peace are you keeping, right? Because you're not keeping your own, you're keeping peace within the other people. Like what is it about having this conversation that scares you? And then as we unpacked, I realized it's because like if I did bring things up at home, I am immediately wrong. I will be shut down. And I if anything, I feel worse off after bringing it up. I'd actually rather just deal with it by myself instead of having this conversation because I'm not going to be seen. I'm not going to be heard. And then it kind of trickled into who I was in my early 20s, and that like I would rather keep quiet when I'm uncomfortable about things because I've been taught in this household that being confrontational is not right, which is funny, right? Because I almost want to say, even for you, at school, they teach you to ask questions, right?
That's a little
like they took us to school to learn, and in this process of learning, we're taught to like fight the authority, ask questions, gain understanding. But you're allowed to learn all of those things, but do not apply it at home.
It's such a... Do you know why it's even so conflicting in your mind? When you go to now your classmates' houses and stuff like that, or group project, whatever it is, and you see the way they they're interacting with their family. They practice what they practice at school at home and stuff. Like this is who they are. This is their way of life.
Yes.
And it's like we have two different realities, you know? And it's just, I don't know. I feel like that was like also my thing, was that I would be sitting in the class with people. I'm like, oh yeah, we're all, you know, together, but we don't live the same.
I know, we're not the same. We're quite literally not the same.
It's not the same life, you know. After school, you guys are getting picked up by your parents, you know. Like, I'm not getting picked up. My parents are working. My parents have jobs and all of that kind of stuff, you know. Of course, there are those days. I remember it used to feel so special when your parent comes to pick up from school. Like, oh my gosh, you know, they're actually, here and this and this and this. But it's like sports games, all of that kind of stuff. It's their parents that are there and things like that. It's like the way that they show up, the way that they have that like lived experience of like having the presence of them, or just being able to feel like they can like challenge their appearance or whatever it is in their opinions. It's so bizarre to me. That's like you go to school where this is like practice, and then you go back home and it's like, you know, it's also the same with language, right? It's like how when you're spending most of your hours at school, right? So you started from like 7 o'clock in the morning, you got to get dropped off and stuff like that, and then you've got extra meals afterwards. You're there at school until like 5 p.m, you know, 6 even. And you're so used, the people you're engaging with is like in English and all the rest. Your classmates, your teacher, the exams you're writing, all that, like that's what you're doing every single day, Mondays to Fridays, for some people even to Saturday, you know?
Yeah.
And it becomes such a disconnect when you come home and your parents come home later, they cook, we watch dinner, we go to bed. You barely really have that much conversation. And it's just like to the point of, at what point do people really expect you to be speaking so much of your home language and so much of your hours is being, you know, spent learning English, or your second language? For me it was Afrikaans and all the rest, and it's like it becomes so difficult that you start even feeling disconnected like from your own home, because it's like there's this barrier, man. And it becomes even worse when you now have to go to like your relatives and your extended family and all of that. You get a bit
Zama, please keep speaking. No, because facts, right?
And you're constantly having to explain yourself or over-explain or whatever it is, and you're overcompensating. There's so many things you're trying to do to like show that like you're still part of that community, even though your realities are so different.
No, I agree, and you're right. Like when you are speaking in English each and every single day, you know, and obviously naturally our upbringing is different from what our parents had as well. You know, I felt like, especially with my parents in their communities, they were speaking English at school in the English class, but outside of that, they were definitely speaking vernac, you know? And I think that's also very interesting, because I felt that as well. And I think if anything, that's what gravitated me towards learning Zulu that much more, because I didn't like how it is that I felt when I went home and I couldn't converse as easily. And on top of that, it's not even the fact that like, it's not just the fact that I felt uncomfortable with it, but it's the fact that you're made to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I get it, because everyone in Makai or at home is literally like, and then when?
Even your parents also like
are so confused. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. You come home and you ask me, how was your day? What did you do?
The betrayal from your parents is crazy.
Because where and how? If anything, I actually picked up that my parents were more conscious of that with my younger sister. So there was actually even a rule that like we only speak Zulu at home, because I think they were like, shame, you know what? We have to kind of meet you halfway with that at the very least, because we can't expect for you to show up in these spaces and be pro Amandla, you know?
Yeah.
But then we haven't really like laid the foundations and stuff. It's funny because I have a friend, right? And as of recent, like she comes to the house quite a bit. And I obviously still live at home. And she will always say to me, she's like, your family is black, but like a modern black. And I didn't ever understand what that meant or gauge where it was coming from. But as you were speaking now about like, oh, your parents wouldn't come maybe to sports days and whatever. My mom did.
Oh.
My mom did. My dad did when he could. Obviously, he was just a little bit more on the busier side. But I realized that, like, I could see at some point my parents were very intentional about the fact that we are a black household, but we obviously live where we live and there's a different culture here. And although they didn't want me to completely, like, forget who it is that I am and how it is that I was brought up, I could see them assimilate in some ways. Like, for instance, like, on Easter, my mom did a little, like, treasure hunt for us. Like, you wake up and there are these notes, and I was just like, this is the cutest thing I've ever experienced.
Like what?
What the heck? When I come back to school and I'm doing a little bit of like, tell us about your weekend, and I'm saying this, all my black friends are like, wait, what?
Oh, not relatable.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like with my parents, I've seen the effort. Yes. And especially now that I'm older, I had a lot of resentment because of the strictness and because of the not hearing where it was that I was coming from as well. A lot of resentment out of high school, early varsity.
Were you like given freedom? Like, were you allowed to go to parties or like just things?
Here and there, my mom was more understanding. My dad was strict. So that's where the thing is. Like, you could reason with my mother. Like, yo, ma, hello, I wanna, and she's like, you know what, I get it. Like, I want you to live your life, feel free. But my dad just kind of, for a very long time, was just like, no is no as well. And then that dynamics is also very interesting, because you say no to your child and then they have the freedom eventually in varsity, and then they off their rocker and you guys are now confused. Excuse me?
Sure.
Of course that's going to be the case, because I've never had this sort of freedom before. I've never been allowed to go to these spaces. And on top of that, I haven't been prepped for it. Also, like the whole, I don't know, were you allowed to date in high school? Oh, sorry. You actually, what a silly question.
Am I allowed to date right now?
Is the actual question.
What?
Are you allowed to date?
My mom used to
period.
say, you can only start dating when you're married. Like, just like, what?
Okay.
Leave that for later. Don't focus on that. Like, she was very much like, that's not on your agenda right now, you know? And it's interesting when you speak about strictness, because you said your dad was the one that was strict. For me, it was my mom who was like more strict. But like, yeah, dating boys really.
Okay, so wait, could you hang out with boys? Oh, okay, Zama. No, I'm with you a bit. Out with boys.
Like,
for
what
what?
are you doing? Why
For
are
what?
you like, oh, Papi, like, just kind of like relax.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think, you know, to the point where I would be so terrified, you know, if I was like seen with a boy and stuff. I mean, my parents know that I have guy friends and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I'd be so afraid if there was ever even just like a whiff of like Zama romantically being involved with like any, like till now, I'm not even lying. Like, I think even as an adult, like I wouldn't even, and I think that's like the tricky thing too. It's like now when you're having adult relationships and stuff, how do you even begin trying to piece together introducing someone to your parents when like it wasn't the norm growing up or whatever it is. And I think also when you just speak about like now you go into varsity and you're having all these experiences, I think that was another thing that was just such a little disconnect in my mind. But because it wasn't a norm in our household, like I never really knew what is a healthy relationship or not, what is healthy love, or what is like, how do you navigate what is going on? I trusted everybody's intentions. I was just like,
I get that because you have
just
no
naive.
experience.
I was just like, oh, come on, like we're just like, yeah, it's that thing of just like, and I think I don't know what my expectation is in terms of like your parents prepping you for that.
Yes.
Because it's like, you know, what are they supposed to do? Tell you.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Who to date, who not to, whatever. But I mean, I feel like going with nothing at all blindly, I think made me so vulnerable to so many things that I'm just like, I didn't need to go through that, you know? But yeah, dating, I think like as an adult, like I've never been in a relationship, and I just feel like it's also prompted by that because I always felt like this fear of I'm doing something wrong. You know?
Yes.
I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing or whatever it is. Something that's a sin and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you're still trying to unlearn that and trying to like, you know, become more comfortable and make peace with like, yeah, it's okay to explore or whatever, but it just feels so like you're, you know, like what would this like your family think and things like that. But like, yeah, were you allowed to date? Was that your
Zama? Zama.
I thought maybe we were different.
No, girl, I was not allowed to date, and also like my dad. I mean, my mom reinforced it, but I feel like she was just supporting her husband. To be honest, like I don't know if those were her real feelings and thoughts. She said, "That's my man, and I'm gonna stick by him." Yeah, my dad was like very much no dating, no boys, and even like the whole notion of being friends with boys, he did not understand it. So much so that I'll never forget. And you know, my poor self, is that I get along with guys, and I feel like now that I'm reflecting on it, I've actually been getting along with guys since like high school times, primary school.
Yeah.
So, dog, obviously, it's after school. I'm chilling with the guys. You get me? They're by the
and
waiting
it's
area.
funny. Hey, they're making jokes.
No,
it's the best time.
And that's the thing about chilling with guys is that you're laughing so hard, and it makes everything worse because now your parents are pulling up and they're like, "Wahleka kangaka? Yini? Uthini manje lona?" So that I'm chilling after school, and keep in mind, I'm used to my mom picking me up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I know that like, cool, if she sees this, it's fine. Zama, I think I spot my dad's car out the corner of my eye, but in my mind, I'm still very much like, this is impossible. Like, he's not coming to pick me up. He figured lapo, he, ha, ha, ha,
having
ha,
the
ha.
time of your life.
Car pulls up, and then normally, like, I mean, if anyone picked me up, the car would pull up. They will obviously know that I'd recognize the car, go to the car. Car pulls up, my dad pulls down the window because I'm sure he's actually like, I want to peep what's actually happening.
I want you to see me seeing.
I packed up my stuff and I got into the car so quickly. I did not say bye to anyone. The next day at school, they were like, "Were you okay? You?" Like the way you, I was like, "No, guys, I had to leave." They're like, "You didn't say bye. You didn't hug us." I said, "Hug."
Physical touch.
I said physical touch. And those were the moments where I realized there was a disconnect because obviously for them, I think even as boys, maybe it's a more like relaxed. They are allowed to have relationships with girls and friendships with girls, but more so it's like I'm dealing with people that are not black as well, you know? So to them, it's mind boggling that like, Gugu, you cannot be seen with 16-year-old boys when you were 16. We go to school together. We spend the whole day together. Why can we not have any sort of like relationship?
But also, boys are raised so differently. I feel like parents get so happy when a boy tells them that I have a girlfriend, or I have two actually. I'm speaking. It's like a joke in the household that they're seeing mouths, like whatever. Literally, you know, you're allowed to please go forth. It's cute when they're in grade 3 and they're like, "Oh yeah, I like this girl. This is that." Literally,
Zama.
There's no such thing. It's so different. You know, my parents would always speak like about like when is my brother gonna get a wife? When is this and like, oh, you know, like.
And you're literally there like, that's so crazy. Because if I said that.
Yeah.
When were we allowed to date? I didn't know you guys like made this a thing now, so why not communicate it? Retweet. I have an older brother, and I think it's like late high school. Obviously, he's older than me, not significant, but like significantly, but older than me. And no, significantly actually. I'm actually clocking. I'm like I'm 28, like a good 9-year gap between us. And bada boom, bada bang, Zama. We're going to the East. What's it called? The Rand show, the Easter Rand show. Yeah. Cool. My brother's girlfriend is there. I'm confused.
The guts.
No, and I'm confused. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't want her to read it as I'm uncomfortable with her, though I'm being snacks. But I'm genuinely confused about what's happening right now, because I have never heard him say to myself and my sisters that like, oh yeah, bring your partner, bring your boyfriend, bring your what or what. If anything, my dad has always said to me that the only man he wants to meet is my husband.
Yes.
So, yes. Boyfriend. That does not make any sense. And then thereafter, she came to the house a few times for lunch. So then obviously there's little Kuguletu, freedom fighter, making observations and realizing that something is off.
You're ready to have an opinion.
Thank you. So I said, you know what, nah? And this is like some time after the fact. I'm like, guys, is it not interesting to you that you are okay with my brother bringing his girlfriend over, but if I were to bring someone over, you'd have a problem? You know when you can feel the atmosphere shift.
I just think it's really funny how...
And the tension you could cut with it. I said, never mind, guys. I didn't even get a response. I just felt my dad's body, like he was laughing and then he just wasn't laughing. And I said, you know what? I was actually joking.
It was actually like, how dare you ask?
It was almost, it was like, what don't you understand? You know? And to me, it's like, I don't understand anything because you've said nothing. That's why I don't understand it. So just even that, like, I know that if I were to have boys, for me, one of the biggest things is that I'd want to raise all my children equally. You will cook, you will clean, you will have the same set of rules. Like, I don't like the fact that your brothers can maybe go out for longer than what you can. And I get it from a safety aspect of things, but it's very easy to also breed animosity between yourself and your siblings when you see that one sibling is allowed to do a lot more than what you can. And then on top of that, I'm clocking that the sibling has no problem with the fact that I can't do it. And it's not saying anything when it comes to me, you know? So I'm so aware of that. And I know when I have children, I want to bridge that gap properly. And also just the whole like, oh, you can come talk to us about anything. This has been my biggest beef with my parents, especially growing up. Like, oh, so you never got that.
What, you can come talk to us about it? No, all the time. But
when you do talk,
that's what I mean.
When you do say
what do you
something,
mean I can come talk to you about
anything?
Why would I
do that? What in the past has made you guys feel as though I trust you enough to bring anything to you?
That this is precisely where I want to bring. Like this is.
No, Zama, no. So like my parents and I had that thing as well where it's like, why didn't you talk to us about this? Because I'm like, if I did, it would have been an argument. And if I did, you would have had big feelings and you would have been big mad. So now...
Oh, it's so interesting, the shock that they experience. Like, why wouldn't you? Because you will beat me.
You literally beat me. You're like, nizong shy.
You know, like obviously hindsight, it's like the emotions are calm. You're not gonna do that. You're like, no, I wouldn't do that. You're saying that now. But like in real time, you sure?
And especially if I'm saying something that you quite literally do not like as well, and it just does not sit well with you, you are going to react. And I'm not going to feel comfortable enough to ever bring anything forward. Also, were you hit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But until I think like, yeah. And I think, I don't know, it's interesting because for me, growing up, it was normal. And now we're living in a time where it's like absolutely...
Blasphemy. You hit your children, how could you?
Like what? But I don't know, because I remember like even when I was like young, and because like we were hit with the belt, but like they convinced me that it's in the Bible. You know?
I didn't mean to gasp so loud. What?
They convinced me that like, hey, the Bible tells us that we need
like we need to.
And I get the whole thing of discipline and all the rest. And I think that's like a bigger conversation to be had. But I think, sure, maybe I should just go into it. But I think the thing about like hitting, right? Especially when we say like, no, the Bible tells us whatever it is. It's like, I think in some ways it teaches us that like the people who love us can hurt us. Like, and that's an issue. It's like saying that, like,
Zama, speak
but
on
I
it.
love you, you know, like, you don't hate me for doing this. And it's supposed to, like, and then, but for some reason, if your husband does it or your lover does it, it's wrong.
It's wrong.
But like in your household, it was right. It was allowed. And I think that's where I've started to have like conflicting ideas about it, because now it's like, yeah, you're teaching people. I mean, I remember like, sure, in grade 1 and grade 3, though, these boys used to hit me in jail, like just, you know,
Excuse
and they'll
me?
think it was just like, yeah, I think for them it was a game or whatever it is, but it was just, you know, and when I tell the teacher, they'd say things like, oh, boys only hit girls they like or whatever it is. And you know what I'm saying? And it's that like,
it's
you
that
know,
conditioning.
yeah. And I'm just even now imagining maybe at home they were seeing like their parents hitting or whatever it is. And it's just like, it just becomes this thing where we say, no, it's like a form of affection, of care, of this and that. And I think that like as adults, it begins to confuse things, because now we think that like, because I care about you, I'm allowed to do this to you. You know, I'm allowed to cross that boundary. I'm allowed to like, you know, inflict pain and harm onto you. And that's like where I think that like it actually just becomes an issue. And I think even furthermore, like the problem with like using those forms of like discipline is that we don't know how to define the limits. We don't know how to define we don't know how to define like when it's going too far.
Yep.
Because it's under your, what you feel, right? And I think like, yeah, I don't know how, but like, yeah, when I think about it now, I think it just shows like a poor way of like knowing how to regulate as a parent, like your emotions. Because what you're doing is like just exerting your anger or your pain or your frustration, whatever, onto this child who is defenseless. Also, like they can't compete against. What are they gonna do? Like? What am I gonna do? Punch you? Like,
and then on top of that, if you put up your hand because it is a natural reflex, Zama, you're now threatening them. And you're just like, I promise you, I'm just covering my face. But it's like, oh, imagine when so shy and now so and you're just like, guys, how on earth? You are bigger than me, you're stronger than me. You know I have no defenses with me. You're holding a belt. I'm quite literally just trying to defend myself. Like it's all of those weird things. Like I love what you said there, because I completely agree 1000%. Sure. I don't personally believe in hitting my children. Okay, I don't have any children. Chill. Okay. But I think there's a better way in communicating. There's a better way in making someone understand why it is that they did something wrong. And I think if anything, even in the times where I was hit, I became more angry and I didn't understand what it was that I did that was wrong. So for me, it's like, you're irritating me, you're aggravating me, therefore I'm going to keep doing the thing that I was still doing. And again, now I'm doing it out of real vengeance. Because I'm upset at this, you know? And just the notion of like, yeah, we're doing it because we love you. I promise you there's a better way of going about disciplining your children. But I've grown to understand that that's what they grew up off of as well, right?
There's a lot of grace,
There is grace. So now in hindsight, I'm like, cool, you guys didn't know any better. But I mean, like they say that we aren't responsible for the things that we go through, but we're responsible for the healing aspect of it. And that's also been a bit of a conversation in my household. So I was the first one to go to therapy. Obviously, I've been through a lot, but like, well, like I've seen some things, I've experienced some things. And I think I quickly became aware in varsity that there were things that I had internalized that I just did not want to be a part of my character. And there are things that I'd also taken from my parents that I just did not like and didn't want to have those things like sit with me in my adulthood. So just even the question of therapy, right? Or the conversation of therapy is obviously just very tough. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I had never been so scared to have that conversation with my parents.
The devil. The devil trying to control your mind.
The devil, first of all, is trying to control your mind. Second of all, there is a roof over your head. You go to a really good school. There's food on your plate. You have clothes on your back. We were trekking through the jungle to go to school. We didn't have food. And all of those things are valid, right? For sure. Like, I think their lived experiences are far different from ours, and we do have things easier due to their hard work. However, it doesn't mitigate the fact that you can suffer from a mental illness. And I think even so, some of my mental illness was triggered via some of the things that happened at home. Wow. And that's a very uncomfortable conversation to have, because you're trying to hold your parents accountable. When they hear those things, it's very much like, I've done so much for you. How dare you maybe come to me with this conversation? So I'm talking about therapy here. And I think my parents were okay with it, because I literally was like, listen, I'm at my wit's end at this point. Like, I'm not okay. I need to do this, that. And I'm really grateful for that, because they heard me, and I think they heard me because of the severity of the situation at the time. Yeah. But you know, I still did get met with, and they're far better now, so praise be. But I did get met with like, think happy thoughts, you know, like, you know, like, just be grand a bit.
But it's a decision. Just
like it is a decision. Like quite literally, like
you just have to decide.
see the positive, see the good things, focus on the good things, and at first that would aggravate me, but now I understand that they did not understand what anxiety or depression is. They had no
Of
cooking
course.
clue.
Yeah.
So I started therapy, and then that's resulted in some of my other family members doing therapy, and I'm so grateful. Because there is a stigma, right? Just in that,
Yeah, for
like, what
sure.
are you going through, Ngaga, that you therefore need help and need to speak to someone? And maybe even sometimes it's viewed as a weakness, that like we have issues within this family so much so that we need to go outside of this family to discuss it. Because one thing about my dad, he believes in family meetings, which is,
Really?
oh,
Oh, interesting.
oh, the family's gonna sangana, babe.
They
Oh,
know what's okay.
the family's gonna
Okay.
sangana.
Oh,
So
wow.
for him, I think that's been his route of resolution, which is fine. But I'm just like, how are we gonna solve an issue that we maybe have internally and no one is actually hearing one another, and you guys aren't hearing us? So it only makes sense to outsource. Like, let me have someone else to speak to. Maybe gain the courage that I maybe need to even have the things that I want to say. And
Yeah.
I think I got to a point where I was okay with upsetting my parents.
Wow.
And I was okay with
Sure.
them not liking what it is that I had to say, because at the end of the day, I knew that it was something that I needed to do and I needed to feel liberated. And as someone who lived in that house, as much as child, it is their house and they paid for everything, I knew that I wanted to afford myself the opportunity to be at peace. Like, I'm at war each and every day outside of the household. The last thing I want is to experience this here. So I need to, like, I'm going to upset you a little bit. And we had a bit of a tussle until they obviously then realized that, like, no, this thing is doing you well.
Yeah.
Maybe we can try. Maybe we can have conversations moving forward. So
it's so nice to
yeah.
see like character development in parents, because I feel like that also came in my family much later though. Like in the early years, what are you talking about? Like
Yeah.
depression and it's like what? And yeah, I feel like during varsity, after varsity and stuff, my parents became very much more like, listen, we're here. We really do mean it when I say like, yeah, come talk to us, come this and this. Like, I even started therapy now, and like it was just like I'm the first one, I'm the only one out of my family that does it, But like, yeah, I feel like it's really beautiful what you speak about. Like, you had to be the one to start, but now other people to now, decide maybe we should be doing it too. And I don't know. I feel like I've started also just realizing that there's so much I don't know about my parents' lived experience, and so I don't know how much they are carrying, how much they had to like survive through, how much like I think sometimes I would be so quick to be like, you just don't get it, or you just don't understand, or you just don't, and we spoke about resentment earlier and stuff like that. But I think like being able to just like go to therapy, listen to like what's going on within me or whatever it is, just made me also realize like, sure, these people are also just people too.
Yes.
These people that like, they're not perfect and they've done whatever. But I mean, like, I think, as we spoke about grace a bit earlier, I feel like that was where I started learning to build that, because I'm like, I actually have no idea that like half the stuff that you had to carry before you even had me, and you're doing the best with what, or what you think and stuff like that. And I think that when you're able to at least get to like, as I'm talking about like the character development or the arc or whatever, where it's like, it's not that forever is going to be like this, but like you're willing to start being open-minded, you're willing to like, because it's so hard to have your conversations, it's so hard to like hold your parents accountable without sounding ungrateful, without sounding like you don't see what they did, without sounding like like you just hate them, because you don't, like you literally
don't.
like, I love you, I need you, like
I need you.
and I need you so bad.
Yeah.
But like, how do you explain that like much of what you're experiencing, in terms of like the downfall of like your mental health and stuff, like attributes to like things that have happened in the household. Like, and I think it almost, I think to them it feels like you're blaming them. Like, oh, so I'm
the reason why. Yeah.
But it's just like, it's yes, but like, I don't hate you. Like, can we work on it? Can we, you know what I'm saying? Because I think at the end of the day also, so there's this book I'm reading called How to Do the Work. And essentially the author speaks about like how we're all going to at some point experience trauma, and does not necessarily mean like in the, the most horrific of ways or whatever. But it's like, our parents aren't perfect. There's things that they do that like influence how we interact in our adult lives. So whether it's on this extreme or that extreme or whatever it is, there's something that like the way that they are just makes us feel like, did we need it? Like, I wish this was different and stuff like that. And I feel like when we're able to just like tell our parents like, you're not horrible, you're a great parent and stuff like that, but like you can work, we can, I just feel like But it's so hard to do that, like, again, in a Black household, because how can you do that without making it seem like I hate you?
Literally.
Like, you suck. Like,
yeah. I love what you said there, because I think there's something really important about humanizing your parents.
Sure.
And I struggled with this, and I had a conversation with them. I said, the reason I struggle to humanize you guys is because you come off as perfect. Right? And I think it's that idea of like, and I mean, I think my parents were really diligent students, also really well behaved. I'm maybe the wild card. The family.
Oh, it's me.
Maybe they're like, so I think even when they were relaying their stories, I never really heard about them being in trouble. When I'd spoken to my grandparents, they were the most well behaved. No one really had these stories. And I guess the stories that they did have, they kept to themselves.
Oh, that's so tough to live up to. Yeah.
Because as well, I think their idea is that they didn't really want for us to maybe see the human in them, or they didn't want us to know the wrong that they did, because they felt like that would validate our mistakes, and they didn't want to do that. So in that whole humanizing process, I was like, guys, I can only humanize you if I know what your upbringing and what your shortfalls and your shortcomings really were. It's great to hear. I know you're trying to motivate us that like we went to school and I'm like, that's great, right? Like, we're grateful for that and we're proud of you guys. But also, I need to kind of know more than that. You're more than like just being perfect. Not that you are your mistakes, but your mistakes have built you to be the people that you are today, right? They've built character within you guys. So if you maybe let us in on that, child, it'll be a lot easier for us to view you as human beings and not these perfect people that always have everything right. And I think through that was when I then realized that like, this is their first time being a parent too. It's your first time being 30, it's your first time being 40. And mine, and I was a bit of a challenge, you know what I mean? So I can imagine they were just confused at times, and they didn't know how to go about things. But seeing it from that lens has really helped my relationship with them for sure. To just realize you guys are just putting your best foot forward. It is your first time in this experience. It's your first time in this world. It's your first time facing these things.
And sorry, I just want to piggyback on that. Like last year, when my mom passed, that was the first time I ever seen my dad cry, like ever. My whole life, like my parents have just been my superheroes. Like they're just perfect. And when I saw that, it was so like, I couldn't believe it, because I just almost felt like my dad can't cry. Like what? And when I saw that, I never felt more connected to him.
Yep.
Than ever before. I've never felt more safe, more this and that, just to be able. And it was so interesting because now, people come and speak and, at the funerals and stuff. And some of the speeches would say things like, to my dad, like, don't cry, you need to be the man of the house, this. And I just was like, to my dad, it's all good.
You can cry.
In fact, I would be.
I'd implore you to please cry.
So that we can all feel safe too, at the same time also, to like let our emotions out. Because it almost felt like there's this heavy emotion and we don't really know how to process it because you're trying to keep this perfect, like, just keep things under control. That's the word, right? To not look like you're falling apart. And to humanize that and see that just felt like something in me opened. And like, it goes back to that thing of like, how, when you say things like, you can come talk to us about anything, how can we do that if we don't feel safe to? And I think that when I started seeing my dad more as like a human being and stuff, I felt more safe to just be like, yo, actually, I got things to tell you. Like, I want to speak to you about this and that. And like, I think it's such a beautiful thing when they're able to just let down their guard or whatever it is, let down. Because that's another thing. Like, also when you're kind of ruling through things like, hitting and this and that, I feel like that's like leadership through fear, right?
Yes.
We keep trying to, as a parent, like you feel like your role to be that leader or whatever it is, as long as your kids fear you, then like, that's the way it should be. And I think it's really, it becomes really scary because you mentioned earlier, like you get so scared to make mistakes and this and that, like you don't really know what the consequences of those things are going to be. And I think that, when we can rather do leadership through respect, like I can still respect my dad even though he cries because he lost the woman of his life, like his dreams, you know what I'm saying? And rather than like fear him or whatever it is and think, oh, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't. Because like, I think what we're also struggling with right now in our society is there are a lot of children who are struggling to make decisions for themselves, because they're so afraid of doing things wrong.
Yes.
They're so afraid of rejection. They're so afraid of like, just getting it messed up or whatever it is. And it's like, they don't have that freedom to like really trust themselves. And it's like, no, we should be, we should be allowed to make mistakes. We should be allowed to have that freedom. We should be allowed to like not fear, those things. And I think that like, when you grow up in a household where it feels like there's just one way of doing things, you like, it's so scary to try. It's so scary to take risks. It's so scary, like, all of that kind of stuff. And I just love when we're able to just like say, oh, you broke something, it's fine, I'm not going to hit you. Like,
how healing that is. to say you made a mistake and that's okay. And that's it. That's where the conversation ends. That's fine. Clean it up. You're done. That's it. Like there's such a powerful lesson in that as well. And I think it is those small moments where you do break something in the house and instead of getting like a whipping or a lashing, it's just like, it's okay. It's a mistake. Obviously, if you break something expensive, they will be a bit upset. You finna get some words.
For sure.
But yeah, I think there's certain mistakes that they could maybe let slide a little bit. And I think there are life lessons in those moments as well. And I love what you said because essentially what I was hearing as you're speaking is that love is patient, love is kind, love is nurturing, love is forgiveness, love is not fear. And
it can't coexist.
It can't coexist. It can't. And I mean, that's biblical, if anything. And I think it also kind of shows maybe the environment in which our parents grew up in, and that the fact that there was a lot of fear. There was a fear of their parents, a fear of failure, a fear of not making it. And those times were a lot harder. And I feel like they put a lot of pressure on themselves. And that's why they put the pressure on us as well. But it's obviously cool to have them also realize that, like, in all of that, I'm still human and I will be sad and I will let people down and I may not be able to put my best foot forward, but I'm still a person worth loving at the end of the day. Because I think for me, the idea of having to be perfect or a perfect child, or just like my fixation with perfectionism comes from the fact that I think I'm easier to love when I'm perfect. Whereas I need to obviously also deep the fact that I am human being and I do have flaws. And I think our parents need to do that as well. Like you don't have to be the quote unquote perfect parent. Like you can provide, you can cook for your family, you can do things. And also, oh my goodness, guys, this conversation. The idea that I think, I don't know, you'll tell me what you think, right? But our mothers, for the most part, and I know people have like mother wounds as well and don't have the best experiences with their mom. So I resonate and I realize that as well. But maybe like I don't know if I can say for the most part. I feel like moms play the role of mom well. You know, I think women are just naturally more nurturing and caring, so that kind of comes easy to them. But it's interesting to see dads in that I see through like my friends and conversations and the communities around me that men often deem being a good dad as being a good provider, and that's it. The emotional aspect, the support, the care, the love, all of that, it's like he has to be a protector and he has to be a disciplinarian. And if he isn't those things, or rather like that's what they view being a good dad as, and everything else is like not the case, you know. And sometimes you can grow up feeling like you don't have a relationship with your dad because he feels like he's done his part, whereas it's like you're doing these things for us but I don't know you and we don't have a relationship with that, you know. It's like maybe sometimes how your mom will know all the small things. She'll know your favorite color. She'll know that this makes you upset. She knows that this cheers you up. But when it comes to your dad, you're kind of maybe just looking at each other like,
what examples do they have of that?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Which shows. And that's why they should go to therapy.
Like, because who's teaching, you know?
Absolutely.
And now they just expect it to, and that's like, yeah, you're so right on that. But it's like, I think in those ways, I start thinking like, because especially in that generation and stuff, I think for a lot of them, their friends also didn't grow up with their dads.
Absolutely.
Their cousins didn't grow up. Like, who around us? Like, it's like, what? So it feels so like, why are you asking so much from me?
Yes.
When like, I'm doing more than my dad did for me.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Like for them, they're doing their biggest one. Like I'm in the house. I come home every day. I bought the newspaper. I came back. Like, what do you now mean you want an emotional connection with me? Why do you want to bond? Why do you want to do this?
Bring the milk back.
Hello.
What?
Your school fees is paid for. Like, I've done my part. And I think maybe that's something that we can work on in our future marriages, our future households, because I think it's important to have two emotionally available parents. You know, it's not always the best feeling to always be able to only go to one parent with everything, you know? And I can also just imagine that as a wife in a union, you need to feel and want to feel supported by your partner in that aspect as well. Whereas like if I'm the one who's dealing with the majority of the emotional, not baggage, but like the emotional turmoil in the household, that's a lot for me. That's a lot. Like I need to also be able to carry that with my partner.
I truly like the impact my father has made on my life is everything. Like it makes, I don't know, it makes the biggest of the difference. I don't like, just in the ways that I've seen how I see my life, how I interact with other men, how I perceive men and all of that kind of stuff. Like I think people think, oh, it's not a big deal. It's actually for both. It's a huge deal, you know, because I think a lot of women, and rightfully so, you know, we fear men because of like, you know, what's been going on in our world and all of that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to trust, right? It's really hard to open yourself up to a man or to, you know, trust that they can support you and this and all of that, etc. And I feel so fortunate to have like experienced love from my father. Like I always say I come from love, like I so much an abundance of it. And yeah, I feel like if you don't have that experience, like I can understand why it may feel tough, like why it may feel like it, as an adult or whatever it is. Like there are ways that, like, a father figure really provides that like security, even for your mom, that don't compare. Like it changes just the way that you see yourself, even, and all of that. Like it's so important that, yeah, you're right, that they're both emotionally available, that they're both able to cater to, your experiences and what you're going through and stuff like that. Because yeah, I think it's also like it's an emotional burden to just put on one parent to like,
no, it
handle
is.
it. Like, go, these are your kids, but it's just like, no, I need both of you. I actually need both of you to show up right now. I need both of you to care. I need both. So like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, fully. It makes such a difference.
Yeah. And also it's just it's such a privilege to realize that you've come from love, and you've experienced love on both ends. Yeah, because that's not many people's story, unfortunately. And I can only imagine that like the parent wound and navigating that can just be so exhausting and hard and taxing, and especially when you can't get like the answers or the support that you've really been longing for. But Zama, I want to leave it here. I feel like it's unfortunate because I know we still have a lot more to say.
I'm like, didn't we just
get started, girl?
I just sat down.
But I think a part 2 is definitely loading. But thank you for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and just sharing your story with us as well. Like, we appreciate it.
Sure. It has been genuinely such a treat to be able to just like talk. Like, I feel like I'm even remembering things, and like I'm just like, wow, what an important conversation also. Like, so thank you for creating this opportunity for us to do this. Like, I'm just happy.
Of course, of course. Guys, you will find Zama's link below, all her links for social media, podcasts, all of it. Give her a listen, give her a follow. Please make sure to share this podcast with anyone that you think will resonate. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all of that goodness. But from us to you guys, hasta la vista, and next time,
goodbye.
Bye. Brought to you by GN and Co.